Welcome to DubLife Diaries, the podcast where passion meets the open road. I'm Joe Person, your host, and also a lifelong dubber. Buckle up, because this ride is just beginning. This podcast is sponsored by Volksmania magazine. Good times, great cars, awesome Volksmaniacs. Visit Volksmania.com to learn more about this class-leading VW magazine. All right, welcome back to DubLife Diaries. I'm excited for this one. Today we're sitting down with an award-winning architect, but more importantly, a father of two twins, a lifelong Puerto Rico VW kid who grew up around slam beetles, boombox culture, and now you got one of the cleanest Irish Green Karmann Ghias on the island. Why is that important? Because I got the same car, same year, same color, but mine was sprayed, so it's not the same color now. Anyway, I don't think people really understand how wild this combination actually is. Guillermo Marrero, welcome to DubLife Diaries.
Thank you, Joe. How are you doing, bro?
Bro, I'm so good. I'm so happy to finally meet you. We've been connected for months. I got Type Society behind me. You sent me the shirt around the holidays. You're such a great dude, stand-up guy for the culture. I'm excited for this conversation today. Thank you for being willing to come on the podcast, my brother.
Likewise, my friend.
Yes, sir. Thank you, man. So before we get started, I definitely want to give a shout out to my sponsors. You guys know how I feel. I say this every episode. Shout out to Volksmania magazine. I feel these guys are the flyest VW magazine on the face of the planet. I say it every time, and it's not just because of the quality of the pages and the effort. It's the people, just like it is our culture. It's the people. Volksmania.com. Check these guys out. Use DubLife10, DUBLIFE, the number 10 at checkout, and you'll get 10% off your first issue. Also, shout out to Salty Dub. From the beach to the bay, Salty Dub is tearing up the VW scene with epic VW events and swag. SaltyDub.com. Same discount code applies. So DubLife10 at checkout. All right. No more shout outs. Well, I can give one more. Type Society. And I know I already said it, but I'm going to say it again. What a cool thought, cool idea, cool initiative. I can't wait to talk about that. We'll talk about it a little bit later on in the episode. But back to you, my brother. And this episode is all about you.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah, buddy. So let's go back to the beginning, man. Tell me how a kid from Peñuelas, obsessed with MTV, obsessed with Beastie Boys, obsessed with buggies by the river, how does he grow up to design buildings, shape public spaces, and still chase down this VW dream that you've kind of been connected to now for more than 15 years? Take us back.
Yeah. So, when I think about Peñuelas, I really think about my family. I think about especially my grandmother and my grandfather. They were key. Being immersed in landscape. Peñuelas is a small rural town, but I went to school in Ponce, the town adjacent to Peñuelas, which is a city. So I was always between the city and the rural area. So I really value the landscape. I was a very observant child. So when I went to Ponce, they have a very rich French architectural heritage in there.
Okay.
And Creole architecture. And at that point, I didn't know that it was architecture, but I remember asking my mom why those buildings were like that. So I was very, very observant, paying a lot of attention. I just didn't know like the language, the concepts and stuff like that. But I think that it was something that it was within, and also definitely the environment around me had an impact.
How old were you? Where you kind of started to have some of your first memories, I guess, that would maybe tie to you emotionally for where you grew up?
Yeah, I think that maybe 4 or 5, I really started noticing the special place where I lived. Having the river being the lot line on the house. Beyond the river, there was just green pasture and rolling hills. So it was very, very beautiful, very picturesque. So since I went to school in a city, I knew that not everybody had the chance to have that kind of setting. So it was amazing. Yeah, so I think 5, 6 years old was the time.
Okay. I mean, that's old enough to remember, right? So,
Yeah, yeah,
if you have memories of this, if you don't, maybe go back to where you do at what age that was. But let's talk about the air-cooled culture in Puerto Rico back then. Like, what was the sounds? What was the smells? What were the people? What was the vibe like back then?
yeah. So it felt raw. It was it was loud, and it was very cool. Like I don't know if you remember the this picture, like the Beat Street scene where Cool Herc is driving his car and the gigantic home speakers are protruding from the trunk of the car. I used to see that stuff there, but instead of on the urban Bronx setting, it was the rural landscape of Peñuelas, you know? There was a lot of music involved, uh, a lot of people doing custom stuff, uh, and it was a bit crazy. You know, this is the rural hood I would say. And you know, I remember even one time a guy that wanted to race a horse with a beetle. He was a bit drunk. Yeah, crazy. I was playing basketball, and I remember he was drunk, and he wanted to put money on the table that his horse would win. You know, obviously he lost,
I was gonna
but
say, I don't know about anything that can really
yeah, no
take a
chance.
beetle off the line.
It has no chance. It had no chance. But you know that was the like the crazy kind of vibe that you would experience like every single day in the area. So
Yeah, so here, we would kind of see that vibe, more or less in the country, right? Because I grew up in St. Petersburg, Florida. Wasn't really a big city vibe. It is now, but it wasn't really back then. But we had Tampa, Miami, Jacksonville, Tallahassee, Orlando, so I knew about bigger city stuff. But what you're describing, it sounds like, the old country roads where we're racing horses against old classic cars. Man, that's cool. That made me smile. So let's just talk a little bit or touch on you talked a lot about your dad's stories of his older 72 bug. Maybe just tell us how that started to shape your imagination as a kid.
yeah, so as you mentioned, he had a standard 72, and he loved when he had that. We lived in Peñuelas, but he worked in San Juan. San Juan is the capital of Puerto Rico. Peñuelas on the south side, and San Juan is on the north side. So he had to travel every single day. I know that Puerto Rico is, in terms of dimensions, really small in comparison to the states and the travel distances. But for the local state of mine, that's a very long travel, you know.
Okay.
And he always like he liked to tell us that like he was going through the highway and he could see he could see the pavement through the floor plans through the floor plan. Yeah, and being a little kid, like first we joked like he had like the Fred Flintstone car.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
yeah, and I also like thought like, man, this car is like immortal. It has holes in the floor plan and it can still go. Like you could not think that a contemporary car can do that. So yeah, it helped like make the legend even bigger, you know?
Sure, sure. And I know your big brother. Hopefully I say his name right. I don't want to butcher it, but is it Juanito?
Junito. Junito is
Junito. Okay.
yeah, his name is Guillermo as well. But we call him Junito.
Okay. So you had mentioned that he used to have a lot of VW Trends magazines. And I can imagine because I remember what magazines did for me as a young kid. But, how did this maybe, back then help kind of, influence a young kid, but also, you're a talented architect. So how did it kind of start to shape your design brain?
Yeah, so it was key. Junito at one point in his life lived in Bayamón while we were living in Peñuelas. Bayamón also a major city. So he used to bring all the cool stuff down to us. And so he was the carrier of the cool new stuff and bring it down to us. And also, whatever a big brother does, it's usually feels it's cool,
Of course.
So and I remember the first time I saw those magazines, I was seeing the same cars I used to saw on the street daily, but they were on asteroids,
Yeah.
They were super cool. They were very colorful, very expressive. That it had the stories. It talked about how they were set up. So it changed everything. Like it was like I understand this, I can relate to this, and this is on a magazine. So it validated that and it
Right.
elevated it.
Validated
So
the culture as you knew it.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And
Yeah.
visually, it was like it was huge. That those cars had amazing paint jobs. The graphics were very bold, geometric, very
80s,
expressive.
90s. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Yeah. Hot pink, big bold colors, bold designs on the side of them. The lightning bolt was real popular back then, that type of design.
yeah, and they were just like simple colors. They were compositions being done in there. The, so there is a link in there in terms of design. There is design in there. So it helped train my eye, notice color, personality, the importance of the visual impact. So definitely.
Now, I know how much of an impact, my youth and my childhood had on me, but I'm interested to hear this because I saw this in your background. MTV, Beastie Boys, skateboarding, the whole kind of boombox culture, that 80s, 90s, influence. How did that impact who you are and how you design today? I mean, I can see the flat bill hat, like I wear a chain, a big chain that was obviously popular. That kind of vibe, that whole MTV Beastie Boys vibe, dude, that's me.
Yeah.
I'm born in 77. I grew up in the 80s. I was an 80s kid. The 90s hip hop culture, that was my whole thing. The whole, West Coast, East Coast, Biggie, Tupac, that whole vibe. That's me. And to be honest, it shaped who I became as a leader, as a father, as a parent, as everything. That influence had a big direction on my life personally. So I'd like to hear how that stuff shaped you for who you are and how you design today.
Yeah, so we are contemporary then. So I was born on the 78. And I think that, it was a mashup. And it showed me that, design can be so many things. It can be raw, but it can be polished at the same time. It can be global, it can be local at the same time as well. So I would say looking back, it taught me that good design doesn't have to feel sterile. And that goes back to the VW Trends graphic as well.
So cool.
It
Yeah.
can feel alive.
Oh,
So yeah.
yeah.
And I
That's
think
awesome.
that and I think that it made me sensitive to a culture, to the culture as design material, not only the objects, the music, the street life, as you mentioned,
Yeah.
the fashion, the graphics. So everything influenced me, and it helped form, the storytelling and the aesthetics strategies that I employ today. Definitely.
Yeah, fantastic. Great way to kind of encompass all that. So, at what point then in the timeline did you realize, hey, I'm not just into cars. I'm not just into, VW Trends magazines and this kind of design side, that you're actually into craft. You're actually into the aesthetics. At what point were you? When did you realize that?
Yeah. So I think it was there always, but because as I was talking to you previously, I was very observant. I was curious, very attentive to details. But I think that definitely the biggest influence comes from my mother. She used to paint ceramics. Uh, she used to build ceramic models and as well like like old stores, and she used to put all the products and build them by hand. She used to do decoupage. She drew a lot by hand and did very beautiful drawings. She liked to sit me with her and do drawings with her. So that was a way to bond. And all that caught my attention. I remember, sitting down with her, spending that time with her. I also remember, as I mentioned you earlier, looking at the buildings,
Yeah,
asking her why. She could not explain why, but later on, now I can see those were architectural moves. What I was seeing, I just didn't understand why, but I was
dude,
recognizing that those were different buildings. So yeah.
amazing. So I'm curious to know then, when did you first really start to connect with the fact that architecture was potentially going to be your path for your life?
Honestly, it was super late, dude. It was like I already was in college. I
Okay.
think it was third year of college. At
Wow.
that time, I
So
was taking like,
did you have like a major change? Like, you go to college and you pick a major. Did you have a major change? Okay.
yeah, I had a major change because when I went to the university from high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. What I
I still
what
don't.
I Yeah, what I knew is that whatever I would be doing, I really need to do it with passion and be engaged, because if not, I was not going to do it. I'm that kind of person. I need to really feel it in order to do it. So I was taking like general classes all the way, like experimenting. I even took like a tennis elective just to
Hey.
feel the credits,
Yeah,
just to
man.
do something. Like I was like I had no direction. But one day, I remember my father told us like, "Hey, you need to be home early today. Everybody needs to be at home. Today is going to come an architect. He's a young architect. He's a friend. He's the son of a friend of mine, and he's going to design our facade." And we were like, "Okay, what is this?" And he went to our house. He visited us. Uh, he showed us drawings. He showed us perspectives. He came several times. We saw how the design was developed, how he was speaking, the ideas, and something clicked in there for me, because I really like drawings. I really like to draw. I already, as I mentioned you, I was noticing something in the buildings. I have been always been able to visualize very, very well stuff, and seeing how he was explaining everything and the process, that made me feel a real connection. And that was the point where I knew I wanted to study architecture. And actually, at that time, I decided I'm going to study architecture. The schools were in San Juan, and I even paid for my first year. My parents helped me, but I put my money that I have saved on my part-time job as well, just to show to them that I was serious about doing that, and that I was not just trying to move away and spend crazy time in San Juan. So yeah.
So your school was the Polytechnic University of Puerto Rico, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Your experience there, obviously you get a degree, but your experience there taught you what that no book could ever teach you.
Yeah. It taught me who I was under pressure.
Ooh,
Architecture is really hard. It's very, very demanding. It's very intense. If you search, you will see that it's known for very long hours. It's heavy workloads. And you need to constantly balance the creative side, the technical side, comply with deadlines. And the experience forced me to really know myself, my limits, my habits, what I needed to change. It told me also the limits that we believe what we can do. It's really self-imposed. We are capable of doing so much more. So if we are committed, if we are disciplined, and passionate, we can achieve basically anything. So yeah,
Very well said. And yeah, I vibe with that. It's almost like, the belief in self, when you start to, like you said, you kind of pick this up later, in your kind of school-minded career, almost had like that major change, but you need confidence in that still to really, I guess pick that path. You need confidence in self. So it sounds like that really started to shape and evolve for you at that university.
definitely. And it was crazy because I remember when I started there, I remember calling my parents. It was like a Friday, maybe like 10 p.m. I was called them to tell them like, hey, I'm going to stay here. I need to go back to the university. We are working. We have an issuance that we need to comply with. And they were like, come on, dude. It's Friday, 10 p.m. University closed hours ago. And I was like, no. The architectural school within the campus, it's open 24 hours a day.
Whoa,
I
man.
live like I live like 5 minutes from the university. And there were so many times that I would still sleep on the university just below my desk, just to make sure that I was there. So, and I
Wow.
share with them pictures, so show them like I'm not the only one. Everybody's doing it here. So when I say it's a lot of work, it's demanding. It's really really hard, but at the same time, it was one of the best times and periods of my life. So
That's
I'm
amazing. So
yeah.
that puts a whole new vibe to the words lock in. When you have to lock in on something, it sounds like you were locked in on this as a career move, and it must have been motivating and powerful for you to be taking this knowledge in to want to be a young man that can stay that committed to something. Because I know even for me, it was not easy to commit to any type of a school or a university at that age. It just wasn't. I'd rather be out partying, hanging out with girls, doing
Yeah.
stuff I probably wasn't supposed to be doing. So I commend you. Hats off to you for that.
Thank you, sir.
How did the culture, Puerto Rico's culture, the climate, the textures, how did this influence your kind of maybe early design instincts?
Puerto Rico has a very particular climate. We have a very bright, festive culture and society. Uh, we have influence from the Spanish uh, built environment. We were originally occupied by the Spanish government. So we have a lot of buildings that are very, very European. We have architecture that is French, has French heritage. We now have like the more, I would say, sprawl influence, car-based city planning as
Interesting.
well. So there is a mesh. Uh, but I think that again, going back to Peñuelas and living in a very basic way with limited resources, valuing the landscape, the finite resources, also valuing economy. I think that all those experiences or considerations I always have in mind when working on a design. So yeah, those
Yeah.
are key.
Amazing. Super cool, man. And it's cool to hear this perspective because, I'm not an artistic type person in that regard. So it's kind of cool to hear how early influence kind of connects to who you became and who you are, still. Touching on that though, let's talk about professors, mentors, maybe, early stuff, early projects that you work on. Who had the most impact on that and made you really start to feel like, okay, this is the direction that I feel I want to go as a designer.
Yeah. So when I was at the university, the dean of the university of the architectural at the architectural school Jorge Rigao. He was the founder and dean, the first dean of the architectural school. He also was a professor. I took several classes with him, and after finishing the first year of the school, I started working with him, and I worked with him on and off all the way through my studies and through until 2016. So I had the opportunity and privilege to work with him. He's an FIA, that's a fellow architect. That's a recognition, reserved for the architects that in terms of the nation. And so this is a very, very important recognition to his trajectory and things that he has done for the discipline. And definitely his philosophy, his design philosophy, the lessons that he shared with us were fundamental, and I owe him the most to him for my academic and professional formation. He gave me a strong base. He shaped, definitely, he shaped me how I think about design. I work at Marvel now, and I built upon that. But you know who I am, I would not be without him. So I owe him everything. You know.
That's huge, man. That's huge, and that's awesome to hear as well. Give me some of the biggest misconceptions that people might have about choosing architecture as a career.
I would say I don't know, at least in Puerto Rico. I would say at least in Puerto Rico, and I think that it maybe in general as well. But I think that most of the people thinks that the architects and designers only are there for designing either facade or making the project more expensive. And that is not true, you know. There are several architects that are called star architects, but in general, we have a very particular kind of training within the construction field. You know, we often are the professionals who can speak the language of multiple disciplines.
Mhm.
We can coordinate with the engineers, with the different consultants. We can align the needs of the owner and the people who are going to be using the building. And at the same time, you know,
Yeah,
we
massive.
we add value. We add value through design, not as decoration, but we improve how project performs, how it feels, and and the purpose it serves. You know, architecture is about collaboration, and usually, let's say a structural engineer is super key, but he will focus on the structure. The electrical will focus on the electrical. And if you're designing a building and everybody's just focusing on their trade, how they are meshing, how they are integrating, because buildings is not about the systems. The building is about the people that is going to be using them now and in the future. And that's where we come in. So yeah.
I wouldn't even I wouldn't even think to go there mentally. But you said a second ago that you ended up joining Marvel, and I want to touch on that because this is not Marvel like Marvel Comics, but this is a very kind of a multidisciplinary, institution or company that's prestigious, right? It's one of the highest recognized firms in the world, right? How'd you end up joining them?
Yeah. So at certain point in 2016, I felt that I needed to explore other methodologies just to keep growing and just experiencing other ways to do this work. And I already knew about them and their trajectory. I had colleagues that work at the firm, that work at Marvel, and they spoke highly about them. I went to their webpage, their work speak highly about them as well. And they presented here in Puerto Rico. I live now in San Juan, where they are based, and they presented this unique opportunity of working from Puerto Rico on projects in New York or working in Puerto Rico projects as well. And you know that challenge definitely caught my attention. Marrero philosophy and commitment to design were also key as well, because as you know, as I mentioned, I was very influenced by Rigao, and I wanted to make sure that if I was moving on, I was moving to a firm that shared same values as well. And you know, and since February 2017, I started collaborating within the firm and growing with them. So yeah.
Okay. So a lot of listeners might not know anything about architecture. I don't. And so I want to dive in just a little bit, but just explain for me from your perspective the difference between designing maybe let's say a single building or maybe designing an entire experience, because I know you do landscape and interiors and just really kind of all around planning. How is all that connected?
Well, you know, designing a single building, it's basically, at least for me, would be the act of shaping an object. But when you are designing an entire experience, we are shaping now relationships. We are going beyond the building. We are now between people. We are now in the place, movement, memory, you know,
Wow,
function, meaning.
dude.
It goes beyond the building.
Dang,
And
man.
because the building is a form, but right in the most basic expression, it's a form, but the experience needs to be resolved as a sequence. You know, you move through time, and it opens the doors. It opens the doors for, you know, how the landscape, the light, sounds, materials, or work together and become part of the architecture. So I don't know. I think it's about the experience that you carry with you after you go to that building. So, you know, that's what we usually call memories. Architecture, when it's done on the holistic way, it serves as the background for our memories.
Wow, man, that's heavy, that's deep, that's awesome. So your projects, over time, affordable housing, public space, lots of commercial projects. What would you say looking back, just current to date? What are you most proud of? And maybe share with us why.
You know, for me, it's not that much about typology, but the purpose behind the project, and not necessarily as well as scale of the project. I think that I feel most proud of are even the smaller ones. Like we did this project called Casa Moribibi. It's a concept house that we developed a few years ago as a response to Hurricane Maria. And recently, we developed a concept kindergarten, and we explore ideas around educational equity, equality, and construction methods with lower environmental footprint. And you know, both projects were born out of competitions where we and what I think that I like and feel most proud of is that we were able to test ideas, and they were recognized in different forums. Both of them won awards, which it's great. But beyond that, I personally really don't care that much for that. But what it mattered the most to me was the actual experience of, you know, imagining these alternative scenarios where we can do and explore things, and hopefully at some point some visionary developer will see these ideas and try to implement them and test them.
Speaking of where you're at, what you've accomplished thus far, looking back now, what would be one of your most complex projects that you've ever worked on, just so we can kind of, catch this vibe of what you've done?
I would say that the most complex project I worked on would be 2440 Fulton. This is the largest commercial building built at this point in Broadway Junction in New York.
Dude.
It serves as headquarters for social human resources administration. It has like it's like I would say it's like a small city. The building holds more than 1,000 employees. That's without the actual citizens that it serves. That's just the employees. And it's not also accounting for the retail spaces. It has retail and has office services. So it's a huge floor plate. I had the opportunity to be part of that team from the get-go, working on the zoning, the massing studies, all the way to the construction documents. And I think it was very, very challenging for me because, as you know, I'm from Puerto Rico. The climate is very different from New York. So one of the challenges was understanding how the building envelope for a cold climate would
Oh,
be designed.
interesting.
It
Yeah.
has thermal requirements and the layers that you build that you need to assemble or build on the building is very different from what we do here in Puerto Rico. So it required me to educate myself, learn the appropriate construction systems, obviously with the support of knowledgeable senior teammates in New York, in close collaboration with the consultants. There are consultants, facades. This is very, very technical work. On top of that, the project, like less than 100 feet from the actual project, we had train lines. So acoustic were a major factor. We had to ensure that the train noises would not affect the interior environment. And to add to it, below the sites, below the site, there are subway tunnels, which meant that the structure needed to span over the tunnels and
Dude.
ensure that the vibration challenges and coordination challenges would be addressed in a very tight deadline.
Way
Uh,
way deeper than anybody would anticipate. Certainly that might not know about architecture. My son, I've got a son that was interested in architecture, still is, but he's actually going to go to school to become a plumber, and that's kind of how he's kind of shaped up. He wants to enter the trades. But
yeah.
talking to you, what would be something that you might tell a young architect? What do they need to hear about collaboration that maybe nobody ever tells them? Because I think this is a super interesting conversation that might, charge the mind of a young person, to maybe choose this as a career path, meaning architecture.
Yeah. So collaboration starts when we listen. Uh, it's not about just presenting the ideas, defending the ideas, is understanding other people's ideas, other people's constraints, expertise, priorities, humility. So even if if the best idea is not yours, the goal is to have a better project. So good collaboration is not constant agreement, but is respectful alignment of differences.
Hmm. Awesome. Okay, so I want to touch on your family for a second. How do Maria Christina and your twin daughters, Violetta and Amber, how do they shape you as a designer, but really more importantly as a man?
They shape me completely. They are the purpose behind everything I do. Without them, I would not be doing anything of this. It would not have a purpose or make sense. I love architecture, but I definitely love them infinitely. So without them, I would not be doing anything of this. I would be laying back on the beach right now. They keep me grounded. They give me a lot of perspective. I really admire what they do. I learn from them a lot every single day. So I'm full of admiration for them. So they are, since I met my wife and my daughters were born, they are definitely my biggest influence, as many of parents have experienced as well.
Right. And so I started having, kids, what I feel kind of somewhat late. My first child was born when I was 30 years old. So I feel like that was a little bit late. But I guess my point was looking back now, like I feel like my life didn't even start until I had kids. You know what I mean? Because it was like it was all just a blur. It was like, what's the point of this? I get up every day, I do my thing, whether I was going to the gym or, whoever I was hanging out with or whatever I was doing for, to have fun or whatever. It all meant nothing. because it all just kind of shaped me for who I was going to be as a father. So I guess it all meant something. But the point is, I didn't even start living until I had kids. So I completely understand that. Now, this is a Volkswagen podcast. So let's get back into Volkswagen just a little bit. Tell me a moment back in time, maybe with your daughters, inside your Karmann Ghia that you'll never forget now.
Yeah, that would be the day I bought the car and brought it home. Uh, I did not tell them anything. My wife knew, but I did not tell anything to my daughters. Uh, so when I arrived home and I saw their faces lit up and, started laughing, they could not believe it. The Ghia is a small car.
Yeah.
Mine is very low to the ground. So they were like, what is this? And that first ride was really, really, really cool. So I would say that was the biggest one, at
Yeah.
least to this moment in time.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. When did Volkswagens for you, in your life, when did they shift from cool cars, that you had throughout your childhood and were a part of? When did they shift from cool cars to something that became deeply personal for you?
I think I think that it was during my teenage years after getting the my driver license. I had this neighbor who had a cool rabbit. It was white, coupe. He was selling it. And I really wanted that car. And my parents were like, you don't need that. And a few years later, like my neighbor and one of my best friends, Edgardo, he got his driver license, and his father gave him his old, I think it was 73 or 74, if I remember correctly, his Beetle. That Beetle initially was his grandparents. So it went from the grandparent to the dad to Edgardo. And later on, to recently, it went to his son, So it went through a lot of generations. And when Edgardo got the car, his father went all the way through it. It painted the car. It was like bright yellow. It it had a new motor, a new engine. It has, if I remember correctly, like 17-inch wheels, 5-spoke, Momo wheel drive, black and yellow interiors. That car was crazy, and so that was definitely key. The other car that I knew, like, man, this is something that I really want. Other of my neighbor had like this red Corrado. I had never seen one of those until that point of time, and that car blew my mind. Till this day, that's a car that every time I see, I cannot control myself. That's super cool. So I think those teenage years when you actually get to drive the car, it was like, man, I would like to have one of those.
Yeah, yeah. Same for me. Throughout my youth, I remember vividly being like 8, 9, 10 years old. My mom, I grew up in a family that was separated, so I would visit my mom sometimes on the weekend. And at this point in my life, she still lived locally here around St. Pete, Clearwater area. But when I used to go to her house in this place called Cypress Point, she had a neighbor that was two houses down that used to have two sand rails. And brother, let me tell you, these sand rails were loud. They had big, knobby, meaty tires on the back. This guy used to burn out all through first and second gear, smoke the tires, and these things were like monster machines to me, right? I didn't even remember that they were Volkswagens, honestly, until I, really started to age. But those were like some of my first memories that I have where I was like, dang, this is how you do it. Wind in your face, open, lots of power, super loud. And this guy used to take us around, the city, on city streets, and he'd go in the dirt sometimes and, kick up dust. And it was just so cool, man. So that definitely shaped, my love for the cars, and the culture as well. But then it wasn't till, obviously a little bit later, 16, I bought my first 72 Standard Beetle. We've got this huge car show around here called Florida Bug Jam, and it's up in kind of central Florida. but huge show. And it was even back in the 90s, 96, 97 when I first started going. I couldn't believe that there were this many people that thought the Volkswagen Beetle and all the other, type Volkswagens were cool.
Yeah.
It didn't really register for me as a young teenager that, wow, this is actually something that, is more or less a movement, of vibe. It's not
Yeah,
just, hey,
you're part of something bigger.
yeah, you like this car, that's cool. No, no, no. This was, eight, 900 cars that would show up to this thing and still do. And, it's just, it blew my mind back then. It still blows my mind today. Let's talk about your hometown for a second. Something that you talked about from your past was buggies by the river. Um, touch on maybe your first encounters with buggies by the river, and kind of tell me, yeah, I don't know, maybe just give me your backstory on buggies by the river.
Yeah, so I must be the first time I saw them, I must have been, or at least noticed them and look at them. I was like maybe 5 or 6 years old, playing on the rear yard, like every single day, and suddenly a few buggies appear on the background beyond the river, like going through the rolling hills, and I was in awe. My first thought was like, how the hell did they get in? How did they get there? I don't know how they get there. Like how did they cross the river? And then immediately like, that's cool. Like they were going super fast, jumping some of the berms that were in there. Like it was super cool, and it was not a car; it was like a group. So it felt again like it's part of something, part of a collective. People that share the same the same things, and that was incredible. And afterwards, uh, saw them several times and knew like that's incredibly cool as well. Yeah.
Who was your friend that had the 72 bright yellow Super Beetle? How old were you when this car started to kind of influence you and made you feel like, all right, I'm gonna need something like this in my life.
Yeah, that was Edgardo, the one that we were talking about,
Okay.
and I was like 16 years old. Uh, and we were contemporaries. So yeah, I was 16,
Okay.
and he
Same
was
age
just,
as me when I got my first one. Pretty cool. And we're very similar in age. You said you were 78, I'm 77, so we're right there. Now you've got a Westphalia too, right? A 73.
oh, no, the Westphalia is not mine. It
Okay.
was a friend of mine,
Okay.
Oscar, who I met at the Polytechnic University.
Okay.
Great friend of mine, Oscar. So one day, out of the blue, he was like, "Hey, I bought this Westphalia," and I remember like we left the architectural studio and let's go for a ride, and it became like part of the routine, just going away for a little bit, taking a bit of time away from the crazy deadlines and work, and just do a quick ride. Uh,
I know that feeling, brother.
do a restart and refresh. So the Westphalia is about escaping.
That's right. So, question about VW culture. Why do you think that VW culture creates such strong emotional bonds with people? I mean, especially down in where you're at in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, the PWs, I think it fits both our personality and our reality as well. On one hand, they are super accessible, as we all know, very affordable, simple to maintain. In Puerto Rico, a lot of people grow up knowing how to fix things. So like everybody here is like an electrician, a plumber, a mechanic. So the VWs lends themselves to that hands-on culture. and you can keep them running easy enough and improve them without a huge budget. On the other hand,
Right.
we're very proud people. We take care about our presentation, how we dress, how we keep our homes, how we keep our cars. We need to keep them clean, sharp, and personalized. And you know, the VW gives you that platform to do that. And I think that the other thing is we don't have like a major scale, a large scale public transportation system. So we are very car dependent. So car is more than transportation. It's part of your daily life, your identity, your
Sure.
memories,
Yeah,
your
man.
friendship. So it definitely you build a relationship with your car, and it's part of the story. So and we are very emotional in Puerto Rico. So we get attached to them, and it becomes a bond for us basically.
Yeah, no, moving past, the youth into, your professional career, architect, you were patient, I guess, in your approach to buy another Volkswagen in your adult life. I remember reading something about how it took you like 15 years of waiting patiently before you bought something. Tell me why. Why would you take that type of a time frame to wait instead of just maybe just, I don't know, just picking just the next car that's available?
Yeah, we call them the sharpshooter method.
Yes.
When I was at the university, I had this professor, Professor Badillo, and he explained that there are two methods to pursue a project. One of them is like casting a wide net, basically use broad efforts and pursue as many opportunities that come through. Like basically is allowing the probabilities to get you the work because you are pursuing as much as possible projects that fits you, projects that goes beyond your frame of expertise. But since you are casting a wide net, you will get one of them. The other approach would be what he called the sharpshooter approach, which is more methodological. It's the strategic approach based on your strength, your limitations, probability. It's about probability, and you want to make sure that the probability is really high. And that idea stayed with me. I did not have the money. I did not have the resources to like take a fixer upper and do it by myself.
Right.
So for me, it required patience
Got it.
and making sure that I made the right decision at the most at the best time. And I know that I'm not saying that that's the way to do it. It's just the way that worked for me.
Yeah, yeah. So about your Karmann Ghia, when did you know that this car, this Irish Green Karmann Ghia, when did you know this is the one? I found the one. Because 15
Yeah,
years, brother, that's a long time.
that's a super long time. I saw so many cars, and thank God I did not buy any of them because most of them were crazy, crazy, crazy projects. So thank God it did not happen. Initially, I was like just looking through the internet, like let's see if I can find something. I actually saw a few cool rabbits. I saw a fastback that was very very cool as well, but needed a lot of work. And magically, this green Ghia appeared on the web. I instantly was in love. I love the color, love the car, and I was like, hold on, I need to see the car. I cannot get ahead of myself. Uh, I went to visit the property. I went with my friend Carlos. He's very knowledgeable of the VWs. His father and he built a low light, a convertible low light from the ground up. Like they took
Ooh.
that car to the rotisserie. They
Okay.
did the electrical motor. They bought the interiors from Sofine. Like and they like ensemble everything. So he had a lot of experience and knew what needed to be done. So we went there, we checked the car, like we checked the typical fenders, heater channels, we checked the nose, we checked the pan. There were no signs of corrosion or bond of heavy bondo. uh when the owner opened the engine bay, it was so clean. He turned the engine on. It started without even touching the pedal, you know.
Yes.
Uh, the cars that he had, like the daily drivers, were super clean, very, very well kept as well. So those things you can correlate as well. And when we started talking to him, when we knew who he was, that sealed the deal. You know,
Nice.
it like okay, we are good because the reputation that he had.
Yes, yes, yes. Understood. When people now see your car, what are some of the first things that they notice that kind of stand out?
Usually, at least here in San Juan, uh, I get a lot of comments on the color. You know, the something that Volkswagen, well, they do a lot of great stuff on that on that period of time, but their color schemes were beyond. They were amazing. So a lot of people comment on the color, and they also like they are amazed by the shape and the limited amount of joints that the car has.
Yeah. My wife, actually, it's her favorite car of all air cooled. That's her favorite one, and that's because of the lines, the just the kind of the slimness, the sexiness of it. I think as we've kind of, been more attached to the culture here in more or less our more adult life, she's, started to take a little bit more interest in some of the buses and the Beetles and stuff now as well. But that was her first love. And, it's interesting because I hear you talk about this car. It's Irish green. It's the 71. It's the auto stick, which we're going to talk about here in just a second. It's the it's the same car that she bought that I found for her, and we had to drive all the way to Pennsylvania to get this car. And it was same thing, man. When I found it online, I just knew. I knew because she set this task for me. I want this car, but I don't want a stick shift. And I'm like, what? What? Who drives an old Volkswagen that's not a stick shift? I'm like, what are you talking about? Well, I had one in high school. So I started looking into it and I'm like, wait a second. I think from like what, 68, maybe? Yeah,
Yeah,
68 on to, to 74, they
54.
yeah, they offered that option. So I was like, hold on a second. So I started to look, and when I started to find them in semi-automatic, dude, I found one that was a one owner, been in the same family, 46,000 original miles. I said, dude, this is it. This is the one. Now it wasn't Irish green. It was more of a forest green. I know you've seen pictures of this car, so you've seen it. So I knew it was painted, because I knew the color schemes from that era. There was only like what, six colors they came in. So I knew it wasn't a standard color in forest green, but it didn't deter me. I did the same thing as you. I showed up, I knocked all over it. I looked at the nose, I popped the dude. This car was in the best condition. I couldn't believe it to be a car that was this old, that it was in as good of condition as it was. And I explained this a lot to a lot of other guests in the past, but I remember when the garage door, the barn door, out in Pennsylvania, we're out in the middle of nowhere in this small town. It's not a big city. It's like this, rolling hillside kind of country type vibe. And it's this big red barn. And we pull up together. He meets me, out at more of like a public gas station. And then he says, all right, we're going to go to the barn and we're going to go, check out this Ghia. Are you ready? I'm like, yeah. So we drive in, it takes like 15 minutes. We get out, and this guy had like what we call like the whole dog and pony show, man. He like made me anticipate this door coming up, right? So this door comes up, and I'm standing there with my wife, and off in the very back corner, like we talked about in the beginning, kind of covered in dust, is this Karmann Ghia. And I'm like, oh my goodness, man. Like, look at this thing. Back tire was almost a little bit flat, and I'm like, I'm showing up from what, 1,700 miles south. Why wouldn't you clean this thing up for us, He told me, because I did not want you to see a falsified version of this car. I want you to know exactly what you're getting. So man, we knock on it all over the place. Same thing, man. He fired this thing up. It started right up. I couldn't believe it. So anyway, we found a gym just like you did, and I think that's so awesome to hear some of the similarities. But now I want to touch on the auto stick because I knew what drew me to the auto stick, and that was my wife didn't want to stick shift. She didn't want to have to worry about shifting gears. But I want to hear from your perspective, what drew you towards semi-automatic in a world full, especially in Puerto Rico? I can only imagine the purists, down there in the culture. What drew you to an auto stick?
Yeah, so first, it's very unique. Its auto stick represents the idea of innovation, right? They were testing new ideas. They wanted to bridge the gap between manual and traditional automatic. So, as a designer, they're experimenting with ideas. That whole story, I really like it. Uh, I like that it was very unique as well. And I think that at some point later on, it's super easy to drive. If you are on a if you are on a heavy traffic, you don't need to worry about the clutch. While everybody's knees is hurting, mine is very comfortable. And at some point, I guess that if my daughters want to test it, it's going to be very easy
Yeah.
to drive it.
Do you, like me, do you leave it in first gear, driving all through the city, or do you kind of shift through the gears just because you can?
I shift through the gears just because I can.
So because, and we're going to talk about this next, but because I had a Beetle, yes, a 72, fresh out of high school, and back then in 96, when the parts for that, the vacuum lines and the vacuum system for this auto stick, when they started to fail, the diaphragm inside, all that stuff, they couldn't find parts for it in the late 90s. So I actually had to convert that to a 4 speed, which sucked because I loved the fact that I could, like you, I could go through low and first and second. I could go through the gears. And I thought it was so cool to not have a clutch. But when they couldn't find parts for it and started telling me, hey man, this is going to be your uphill battle, I started realizing that, man, it kind of sucks. Well, it's different now. Now they make parts for them, or you can find the vacuum system with the new diaphragm, you know, uh, and it's I guess you can find parts for it now. So I think it's just interesting now that because, time has passed and a lot of these cars have probably had to be rebuilt, meaning auto stick, that those options are there now and you can rebuild them. When I first got this one, it shifted really hard, bang, into gear. So I took it to a pretty, well-known Volkswagen mechanic around here that was pretty well known for the auto stick. And he's like, oh yeah, you need, this diaphragm and you need this part up here. He's like, I've actually got one in stock. I'm like, let's go, baby. So he replaced it and it's smooth as butter now. But my point was because I'm afraid that I won't be able to find parts, I don't drive it like that. I put it in first and I leave it in first unless I'm hitting the interstate. And then when I'm hitting the interstate, I don't shift at 45, 46, 47 miles an hour. I shift at 30, 32, 33 miles an hour. And I make sure it's like super gentle and everything, even though I don't have to be. So I just wanted to ask you, it's cool to hear. You go through the gears. I did that in my 72 Beetle back in the day. In this one, in my wife's Ghia, baby, I treat it like it's like those that like that thing's gonna fail, right? I barely shift it. I leave it in first all through the city, and unless I get on the interstate, I don't even use second gear. um, t-
But yeah, now we can get a lot of parts. I
yes.
actually had to rebuild the transmission because it failed, and luckily I was able to get everything. If I can say the name, EVW parts. I was able to outsource everything from them. So
Who was
yeah,
it again? Who was it?
EVW parts.
Okay.
I don't remember the name of their location, but they are on the I would say northern East Coast. but I don't remember right now their location. I found
Now,
them on the.
you also you talked about what maybe a friend or somebody that you knew. Was it Jorge Diaz?
Yes, Jorge Diaz.
Yeah.
Uh, he's known as El Profeta. He's a Puerto Rican legend. He's a mechanic, but he's very well known because he races his cars, called El Profeta. He has several iterations of them. One was a Blue Beetle. Now he has this yellow notchback that is
Mm.
amazing, very
I,
very beautiful.
one of my favorite cars. If you've ever
Yeah,
listened to any of my previous episodes, man,
I know.
the notch has turned into my favorite of all air cooled. That and probably a bay window bus. But yeah, absolutely in love with that car. And yellow, I had a 58 Beetle that was yellow. It was so sexy. It was so awesome. I love that car so much. I can't believe that I sold that car and let that one get away, but I did. And it's okay. We all have that one that got away. It's like fishing. You you get that one fish, you bring it to the boat and it breaks the line, and you're like, man. I
Yeah.
saw it. I looked that fish in the eyes, but I never landed it. But yeah, man. Okay. I wanted to talk to you about the Ghia because I know how it feels driving mine, and I know that you waited 15 years to buy this car. So tell me what this car represents to you in terms of your life's timeline, your childhood, your professional career in architecture, your fatherhood. You got memories with your daughter in this car. Kind of bring all that together for me as one and bring me up to speed on what this Ghia represents for you as far as your life in a timeline.
Wow, it captures a lot of it captures it. It represents it. Uh, it's about I believe in things that need to withhold or withstand the test of time. As you know, I believe in design. As you know, I believe in solving issues with the minimal amount of effort. It doesn't make it simple. It makes it thoughtful. Simplicity is not the same as being a minimal.
Right.
So they are very different things.
Good point.
So I really like. I think that it encompasses that, and also it's like I would say it's a tool for me. It's a tool to add another layer of connections with my daughters and my wife, and it's also a tool to remind them that hey, things take time, but if you work hard, you can achieve them.
Mm.
And I think that's a proof of it.
So driving it, when you drive it, you're behind the wheel. Does it feel like going back in time, or does it feel like we're moving forward?
I think it's moving forward because right now we live in a very complex world. Uh, we have like overcomplicated a lot of stuff. I think that we are not sustainable right now, and I think that the future is about simplifying, stripping down to the basics, and Volkswagen are the quintessential example of great design with the minimal amount of stuff. And I think that we need to figure that out on how we can still keep the comforts that we have, but doing it in a much more efficient and intelligent way to make
Oh,
sure that we can keep this going on for future generations.
yeah, man. Awesome. Well said for sure. Interested to hear your perspective on this. What separates a VW club from a VW family?
I think it's all about the feeling. Uh, it's the atmosphere that the people on that group creates. How they treat, how we treat each other. The support that we receive when needed. Random messages to check in. A club it's organized around cars. The family is all it's all about the people.
Now you have a club, right? Is it low budget crew?
I'm part of it. Yes, low
Okay.
budget.
Yeah. Tell me what low budget crew means to you personally.
I would say in very few words because I don't want to mess it up, but I think they are an extended family, and they are good intended hearts. They are a group of amazing people. Uh, so that's what they mean to me.
How does the group's kind of, community service approach or even the work that they do, how does it impact the way that you might see your role or maybe even see others in the group's role in your city?
Yeah, I think it's not only about sharing my interest. It's about showing up and helping and contributing wherever we as a group can. Uh, it shifts the mindset from this is where I live to this is what I care for.
Mm, mm, mm. What are some of the unwritten rules that are or maybe values of the crew? If you can envision them.
Yeah, I would say, in my humble opinion, are the same written unwritten rules that we have for friendship. It's about respect, being loyal, being there for each other without needing to ask twice, celebrating each other wins and having the back of each other when we get the loss as well. And treating people with humility.
Amazing. And I love that vibe. That's why I'm a part of this community as a whole. All right, I want to talk about something that's super exciting. And I know it's exciting to you, but you were just in and had a big feature in Volksmania magazine. Talk to me about how it felt when Paul Cave reached out to you and said, "Hey, I want to feature your Karmann Ghia."
Yes, sir. I have mine here.
Yes. Awesome. Show us. Flip through it. Show us. Because we got the YouTube. Yeah. Yeah, man.
I need to say,
Look at the quality of these pages, y'all.
this is a beautiful magazine. As you can see, I have a lot of books. I have a lot of magazines. This is so well made. So shout outs to Paul, the team. They are incredible.
Yeah.
Uh, when 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 I received that message, I could not believe it. It took me back all the way to my childhood in Peñuelas, flipping through the PW trends.
Yes.
I was like, I could not believe it. The like ch child dreams, things that are going on right now. So I was super humble because there are so many cool rides out there. There are cooler stories than mine, much more. There are people that deserve it much more than me, and I just got really lucky.
Yeah, man.
So
I wouldn't say it's luck. You are the dub life. So I think Paul recognizes, he's got a good eye for that, being obviously a chief editor. But man, you live the life, dude. And you have a very unique car. Original color, I mean, that's it, brother. Family inspired, career minded. I mean, you're in an amazing community, an amazing group. I mean, I think that's it. I think he hit it on the head. And what an article. What an article. Let's touch on these
and
photographers.
before that, I just want to
Yeah.
say,
Yes,
just to
please
have it
go.
on record, and we have said it's out there, we know it, but I just want to say it as well. Paul gives so much to this community. He embodies everything good and positive, and he reflects that energy. So I want to say thank you to him, and he represents our scene the right way. He's an amazing dude, and his
Amen.
team. Well, I
Amen,
hope
brother.
that I hope that this inspires others to look out for Volkswagen, document their cars, and share their stories as well.
Yes, yes. And I'm going to have to agree with you. A lot of you guys know my story about how Paul, connected with me. I reached out to Paul for advertising. Didn't know I was reaching out to Paul, but that's what happened. Reached out to the magazine just trying to get some pricing. And dude, he recognized, he saw my passion. He saw who I was as a father, as a human, and he said, "Nah, man. you ain't buying advertising off of me. I'm taking you and we're going all the way to the top. So I really appreciate his vibe and I agree with you. He is exemplary of somebody that is dub life inspired. I wish I would have found Paul a long time ago, but it was just 14, 16 months ago that we found each other. But your issue, your photographers, tell me what they captured in your pictures that surprised you.
That it shines like hell.
That it's so shiny.
No, no, no. Seriously, they captured the spirit of the Ghia, I think. They were very attentive of making sure that they captures, the detail, how they were framing the car. They really understood how to make sure that the light highlighted the curves of the cars. I was working with Miguel Boria,
Mm.
Jean Martinez. Both they are local photographers here in San Juan, and they have this super cool vibe, both individually and together. They are friends, so their dynamic is super cool, and I really like the way that both of them worked. And I thought that it would be cool having two different perspectives, two different set of eyes, tell one story. And I reached out to them, and that they really understood how to capture the car. They took advantage of the angles, the environments where we were.
That's what
The back.
photographers do. Good photographers. That's what they do.
Yeah,
They create art out of what you and I just look at as a capture, a photo, They turn them into art and then we can look at them and we can see and it's like, whoa, I love that. I love that.
yeah, and they worked super fast as well. They took the photos. They did us. They took photos of it. I think that for almost for an hour or so, and then they went back and prepared the images and did a very quick turnaround. They are super true pros. They have great vibes. I would recommend it to anyone.
What do you want your daughters to understand about design, about craftsmanship, about patience, watching you and the community, right? Not just you, but others restore, maintain not just your Ghia, but also other Volkswagens around your area. What do you want your daughters to understand about the collective?
Yeah, so they are currently going to a specialized art school. So they already being with us every day. My wife is an architect as well. They understand the values of design and the benefits of design and their impact on the everyday life. But I think that for me, the Ghia is the reminder of perseverance. Not giving up, uh, waiting, being patient. Things take time to come together. Not everybody has the opportunity to get something at the moment. And I think also, this new generation is exposed to instant gratification.
Yeah.
I think it's a lesson on patience, resiliency. Stay consistent and true to the process.
Mm.
As Nipsey said, the marathon continues, So it's
Well,
about the grind.
well said. Describe the Volkswagen community for me in just one word.
Love.
All right. Can we get it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, brother. Awesome. Tell us where people can find you. Type Society, such a cool brand. I got the shirt. I'm repping. I've repped it before at other events, and I've even worn it on other episodes. But tell us where we can find Type Society.
Yeah, you can find us at Type Society on Facebook and Type Society VW at Instagram.
And tell us about Type Society. What was the motivation behind starting up Type Society?
Yeah, so 15 years ago, I had a small side business, where we used to print shirts. But this was around the the 2008, I would say, depression.
Crash.
Things got
Yeah,
difficult.
we went through that
Yeah,
here too. Yeah.
things got difficult. I sadly don't have the equipment at this moment, so that was put to the side. And I really like that because it was a different way to pursue design and being creative. I did that with my wife. We did shirts, we did purses for the ladies. And now, but at that time, I did not have a clear north or direction,
Right.
a theme, a subject. Now, when I bought the car and finally did that, it was like, I can do this now. And I immediately took that opportunity and started working on several designs. The first that we did is the one that you had that we did for Christmas. And you know what I'm trying to do is pay homage to there are so many types of Volkswagen. So our theme is for every type of Volkswagen. That's why it's type society. It's all about the different types. Just want to
Yeah.
celebrate.
I love it. When I first heard it, I'm like, type 3, type 4, type 1,
Yeah.
type 2, but it's perfect, man. I love it. And what a cool brand. What a cool brand. And you've got a social media influence. I know it just started, but it's growing rapidly. I share every time I can. You see, I started that Golo page because I just love classic lowered, Volkswagens. So that theme and that word, even that verbiage came from the 90s, the late 80s and 90s. My older brothers used to be into mini trucking. And they had this group back then. It was a back sticker, that was on the back of these mini trucks that used to say "Go Low Minis," and it was "Go dash Low," and then underneath it was Minis, and then the center of their logo was a truck with the bed, jacked up, and it had a topper on it. Remember they used to make the toppers dance and spin around and
Yeah.
all that fun stuff with the bed. They were all into big stereos and all that stuff. So I've been so affixed on lowrider culture, since my youth because of my older brothers and their influence that I've always, every time spring kits, even if it's cutting my springs, I've always lowered all my cars, all of them, even trucks. I've always lowered them all. That's just something about me in my, so like you, I started that back up. I even called my brother and I'm like, I want to bring Golo into the Volkswagen scene. I'm like, should I do it as Golo minis? Because these cars are all kind of small. He's like, no, man, you can't. You can't do that. Like, that was us back then. You should just do Golo and just use that. I'm like, okay. So, it's taken off because, a lot of people like the Golo. But my point was, my profile picture on that page is a car that you shared. That red car would look like 20-inch wheels.
The Beetle. Yeah, the red Beetle, the oval Beetle.
Dude,
That car is
sick.
crazy beautiful.
It's so beautiful, man. And it's so low and it's so dope. It's like I saw you share that on the page. I'm like, that's the one. I'm taking that for the background because red is so sexy, and it's so low and it's just so awesome. So
And
yes,
that car is crazy. It has like a right hand driver wheel.
yeah,
Here it's usually on the left side.
right. And it's an oval.
It's an oval.
Mm.
The engine is a beast. Obviously, it has air ride. It has won several awards. He's part of the Aero crew
I don't doubt
here
it.
in Puerto Rico. That car is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Heck yeah, it is. All right, buddy. I got some rapid fire questions. All right. These are questions that demand a fast response. If a story comes of it, awesome. Let's let it happen. If not, all good. We can just answer them fast. All right.
Yeah,
You ready?
let's do it.
All right, let's do it. What's the best designed object that's ever been made that's not a building and not a car?
I would say pulley system or a lever. They are super basic, super simple, mega useful, and super needed. We build the basically the we build buildings with those, and those are prehistoric tools.
So you said pulley system or lever, right?
Yeah,
And if we go back to the beginning of time, they even say the Egyptians built the pyramids with pulley
exactly.
systems, right?
Exactly. And we
And-
still use them today.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
that's the mega test of time.
Yeah, man.
Again, since synthesizing something to the most basic and make it work is so, so difficult. Basically, a lever is just a line, It's a line. And it does so much for us. Or a pulley is just a simple shape that you can see throughout nature. Circles connected by lines.
Yeah, amazing. So cool. Yes. All right. Here's the next one. Split window Beetle or Karmann Ghia low light if you had to pick one and one only.
Oh, I was thinking like when you mentioned that both. Oh, that's difficult. Okay, I will say that I would say a split window because that was the first one I saw. The first time I saw a Karmann Ghia was on a VW Trends. I did not see that one on Peñuelas, but I did saw a bunch of split windows, and I was so curious about that shape and why that rear window was split in two parts.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
so beautiful.
Such a sexy car too. And yeah, I agree. I love the dash in those as well. All right, here's the next one. Favorite Puerto Rican street food.
Los pasteles de Doña Olga, the low budget. That's like I don't know how to say this in English. It's like a dough made of yuca, which I don't know how to say in English as well. This is like
Potato? It's a root, right? Yuca?
it's a root,
Yeah.
Puerto Rican root, which we had eaten since the Taínos, the Indians here in Puerto Rico. And it's filled with whatever you want. It's so delicious. And Olga is the one that makes them the best.
So cool. Okay. Favorite Beastie Boys album of all time.
Paul's Boutique.
Say it again. It broke up.
Paul's Boutique.
Okay.
I like them all, but Paul's Boutique.
Architect.
I like the sounds, the textures. Uh, I like that battery on High Plane Drifter. That's crazy.
I grew up on Beastie Boys, and I hip hop culture was huge for me. So the blend between how Beastie Boys, just how they did music together, whether they're blending rock and rap or just whatever, it's like just super vibed out. Some of my favorite
Their
artists
lyrics
ever.
blend. They're in and out. They're constant in and out. Super crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. So awesome. Okay. Architecture trend that you think needs to die.
I would say designing for renders. Like just for the Instagram post, designing for renders. We should not be designing for renders. We need to design for people.
Okay, that's an interesting take. Do you have in your life a VW that you regret not buying?
No, I got the one that I got the one.
Okay. If you could live in one city for design inspiration only, where would it be and why?
I guess it would be the Middle East somewhere. Their climate is very similar, and they have these crazy strategies for what is called passive design. Basically, it's like cooling or lighting strategies that don't require the actual mechanical or electrical equipment. So they are very, very crafty in that. So their older buildings were very low. Their impacts on the environment is very, very low. So that's something that it would be amazing to experience.
Okay, interesting and cool.
And also they have such a deep history and traditions. It's very interesting to get to know different cultures.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, how about this one? How about a dream project at Marvel that you haven't worked on or built yet?
Always is the next one.
The
I'm
next
just
one.
ready for the next one. It doesn't matter the scale, the budget, the typology. It's just about doing the next one.
Okay. All right. I can take that. When you cruise around the island, what's the favorite road in Puerto Rico that you like to drive the Ghia on?
Well, when I bought the car, I purchased it in Manatee. Manatee has this very beautiful scene, which is Manatee is a shoreside city. It feels rural yet and suburban. The landscape is very beautiful, and those roads were super well paved. As you may know, Puerto Rico is filled with potholes
Yes.
throughout.
That's
So
isn't
those
that what isn't that what the streets are kind of known for in Puerto Rico for being kind of rough and yeah, I thought so.
those streets were so beautiful. They were the car slide through those roads.
Awesome. I can almost envision it. All
Yeah.
right. Last question. What do you hope your daughters remember about riding with you in your Karmann Ghia?
Uh, Life is about pursuing joy, pursuing happiness. It's not about material things. They will perish. We will lose them at some point. We will not have them. It's about joy, memories, and obviously hope that they remember how much I love them.
Oh man, that's great. That's great. And like you said, the joy, the joy that these vehicles bring to us as a community, you know, it's inspiring, uh, to say the least, and to see the smiles that get put on faces collectively around the world. This podcast has been all over the world. I've been in South Africa, I've been in the UK, I've been in Puerto Rico now. It's getting out there, man, and it's a collective vibe around the world. Everybody gets joy from these cars. So happy to hear you say that.
Yo, I forgot to say at the beginning that I really wanted to thank you. You know, I reached it out of the blue. You received me with open arms. You are almost like my godfather of the webpage and what I have been doing. You have been supportive all the way, and you are like a stand-up dude.
Thank you, brother.
You
Thank
know,
you, man. Yeah.
you're really really great, and we appreciate what you are doing for us.
Thank you so much. Now you know what they say. You grew up in hip hop culture like me. Real recognize real. So I see that in you. I see you're a great human. You're a good person, and most of all, man, you're a dubber. You're what inspires me to want to connect with people. So when you reached out to me, I'm like, hey, this is what I look for. Now, you've probably heard my recap on 2025 or
Yeah.
2020, yeah, 2025. I got told no a lot. I reached out to a lot of people that were like, they didn't even respond to me, right? So the fact that I didn't even have to go searching, you reached out to me, that kind of shows me something as well. So I say that to say this: it's my pleasure. Keep dubbing, keep rocking. We'll stay in touch. We'll be friends. If you ever make your way to Florida, come up here to the Tampa Bay area. Me and my buddies put on shows. We got 4 shows a year through Salty Dub. My buddy Alan, he's my business partner. We've got V Dubs on the Pier, which is about 250 cars. Beautiful downtown St. Pete. You probably saw the pictures. We've got V Dubs over the Skyway, which started as just a few friends taking their buses over the Skyway. And now, 2024 was our 25th year, and we had 440 cars in line. That line coming over the Skyway, brother, is 2.5 miles long. So if you can even envision that, it's crazy. But if you ever get around to it and you're up in this neck of the woods, we'd love to have you. We'd love to host you. We'd love to spend some time with you. So thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Yes,
Hey,
of
if
course.
I may, I just wanted to take the opportunity to also share that we are celebrating the ninth World Bulky Day here in Carolina. Everyone is invited if you are here in Puerto Rico. It will be the 27th and 28th of June of
Awesome.
this year.
Hot
So everyone that
summer.
is here in Puerto Rico, yeah, hot summer, bitch. Dubs,
Let's
that's great.
go. Let's go.
Go.
Awesome, man. All right, buddy. Thank you for your time. Thank you for coming on, being willing to share your story, your passion, your career, everything. And that's a wrap for this episode of DubLife Diaries. Thanks for riding along with us and diving into these incredible stories of the people and the dubs that drive their dreams. If you love today's episode, don't forget to subscribe or hit that follow button so you never miss an adventure. Do you have a story to tell or know somebody else who's living the dub life? Awesome! Reach out to us. You can find us on all socials at DubLife Diaries or shoot me an email. I'm not hard to find. DubLifeDiaries@gmail.com. Until next time, keep the engines humming and the wheels turning, and always follow the road that inspires you. This is Joe Person. I'm signing off. I'll catch you on the next ride.